Thank you, lady. Okay, so yeah, I thought we'll just start informally, really. We haven't gone live as yet, so let this recording continue. That's fine. Um, yeah, maybe a little bit of fun, and then you and I can keep pointing to people so people can keep joining this, and we'll see if people even respond. I've got that on my other laptop, so I'm going to do the rest of the stuff there.
Oh,
So,
actually, yes, that's a really good point. I will let me do that on my other laptop because then I can actually see what's happening.
yes.
This means I've got to remember to use the other keyboard. Otherwise, it won't be too good.
And I just have to remember to mute us at the right time from my other laptop and the phone. I'm just going to see that we are live everywhere and then we're good. Okay. But then we just start with me just introducing the topic in a very light way, and we'll take it from there. I was hoping that we could start with the mentee row, that, the question being, what does pressure feel or look like for you when all eyes are on you? And that's a question that you and I can start with too, and then let the conversation flow. I don't know where it goes.
Okay, I can't actually get into the Menti at the moment on this computer, so let me just pause my VPN. It could be that's causing the prob.
If you go to mentee.com, I can give you the code. Maybe it's the code.
It's just not loading up. It's more likely to be a okay. Okay. Hopefully that solved it.
So I have it loaded, but yeah, it's loaded. Okay.
If not, I'll look at it on my other laptop. No, it's not going to welcome that, so I'll open both windows on this laptop. I don't need to have a full screen to see what's going on. What does pressure feel like when you've got all eyes on you? Excellent. Well, we're up and running. Woo!
Conditional issues. Hang on. Really? I mean, come on. My remote stopped working. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can.
Hey, this is it. I'm just going to remove the batteries and put them again. And they feel that it's a new remote. See, this is how most of my apps work with a restart and doing odd
Yeah.
things.
If in doubt, switch off, switch on.
It worked. Yeah. Okay.
Hey! The tried and tested approach.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go live from here. Okay. This I might not be able to record, but I will. Exit live stream. Let's go live.
Do I need to join the live stream as well?
No, 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 no. Setting up. It's done. Redirecting. I'm just waiting for it to go live on my screen here. Okay, it says we are live and I can see us here, and I'm just going to click go live. Just tapping into the event just to check. Yep, and I can hear us from everywhere, so we are live. Okay, so there.
Yeah.
Okay, hello. Sorry, you were saying.
No, I'm just confirming we are live.
Hey. All right, we are literally standing in the fire, yet We are staying grounded under pressure. That's our introduction for today. Just cooked it up, right? Yeah, it's an interesting background, Ro. How are we finding it? Are you sweating with the fire? Burning?
I've got the heating on here at the moment, so I'm feeling very hot, but I love it. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. Creative.
So with that, I think let's just say hello and welcome everybody to our yet another LinkedIn Live. We are calling it, as we just introduced it, Standing in the Fire, Staying Grounded Under Pressure. And we want to just dive right in. I'm Sarika and you are...
Row.
You guys
Yay.
know us from wherever, and if you're watching this, of course, you're welcome to visit our LinkedIn profiles and know us more. But the topic is so hot today that we definitely want to just dive into it. And we've slightly tweaked the format. We just thought of it impromptu, and you have these Menti, QR codes, or just the go to menti.com and start to answer this one really short question there. What does pressure feel like or look like for you when all eyes are on you? What does pressure feel or look like for you when all eyes are on you? So, as a leader, as a facilitator, as a change agent, a lot of us get stuck in that, right? And what does it really look like or feel like? So, we'd be curious to know while Ro and I start talking already about this. And if you see us looking here and there, we're really looking at the mentee. We're not just, ignoring each other, but we're fully into the conversation. But Ro, I'm going to start that question by putting that to you.
So I've actually typed my answer into the Menti just in case there's nobody else on the call.
Scary.
I
Mm,
put scary because obviously, as you say, you're under pressure and you've got it's that unpredictability, isn't it? You don't know what's going to happen next. And so that can, and it can also feel quite lonely. I remember a few years ago when I used to head up a business improvement team, and we ran several facilitator um, learning sessions because we used virtual facilitators around the organization. And we did this exercise where we asked people to draw a cartoon of what it felt like to be a facilitator.
mm,
And this notion of it feeling scary and that you were under scrutiny, you were maybe somebody I think did arrows coming at them. It felt as though people were sort of shooting them metaphorically.
okay.
So yeah, so it can feel quite scary. What about you? What does it feel like for you?
I think for me, it has emerged over the years. So initially, of course, I would go with, and I'm sure that is also the case for you, right? But for me, it started with being scared at the moment because I think there's this whole thing about wanting to perform.
Mm,
You're like, oh, the heat is on you, everybody's focused on you, they're looking for answers. Now, whether you're a facilitator, leader, or change agent, I'm always like, oh my God, it's my turn. Why does nobody have the answer for themselves, right? So it started with that fear, leads to anxiety, of course. And
mm,
then, but almost always it has led to me helping others then figure out, but that's always been the start. I think in today's world or today's context, for me, over a period of time, in the last few years, I would say, or last many years, it has
mm,
become more like it's normal. As human beings, we are going to fear that, right? Because, pardon me, because that's the expectation. We always look up to someone for a response, and you expect, oh, you're going to take care of it. You're the facilitator. Maybe we've hired you as the facilitator. You're the leader. We look up to you. So I think that's an expectation. So I've started accepting, I think, that fact that that's going to come like that. But because you and I know how to navigate the VUCA ourselves, which we probably didn't know earlier, we
mm,
thought everything was stable, predictable, whatever. We know now for a fact it's not the same. And we've matured with our approaches, right? That's why you and I are able to coach teams in the way we do, help
mm,
them navigate. And that's how I navigate. Now I'm like more curious. Oh, okay, if that's the case, what would it be? So I think
mm.
now I'm more curious. I don't have butterflies, to be honest, anymore. Earlier, there used to be butterflies, butterflies. And then someone, oh my God, the question's coming to me. I'm scared. And yeah, I saw somebody also wrote talk fast. But I used to be scared. I used to have like a dry throat. Now, of course, I have a dry throat sometimes, or whenever I'm talking, I'm always sipping water, but that's the natural me because I always want to keep my throat moist. That's another reason. But now I think it's more curious than anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like what you say there because, of course, when we're under pressure, um, we sometimes want to go into that fix mode. Do you know what I mean? When you're asked a question, our natural instinct is to want to answer the question. And when we're actually standing in the fire and being true facilitators, then we need to acknowledge what's going on for us and just be present with that so that we're then able to be grounded for the team. Because, you can't fix everything for the team. They need to have the conversation that they need to have. And usually, when you get to that point of fire, it's because something has just happened that's made them realize that, this isn't working. For whatever reason, this isn't working. And so staying present and grounded as the facilitator allows that space to open up so that you can then support them to have the conversation that they need to have. And that sometimes is quite challenging, particularly when you're working with very senior people who are not used to sitting there in a place of discomfort without any answers and not talking.
Yeah,
So it's about modeling that for them.
I'm actually smiling at two things right now, two things that you said about the whole, context of in a senior leadership or a management setting. So I'm going to talk one of my stories on that. Just reminded me of that. I had not planned for it, obviously, but
Mm.
just got reminded. But I'm going to take the cue from being present, is what you said. That's so, so important, right? I think, especially in today's world, and I don't know how each of us looks at life, right? But you've got to be present in the moment, not have 20,000 things to do in the moment, because only if you're present, I think we can stay grounded.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's
yeah,
not going to happen. You have to be
definitely.
all there. So doing a simple activity like, I get people to check into the room with, okay, what are you doing on a scale of 1 to 5? How are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. And after, I say 1 or 3 or 5 or 4 or 4.5, and you have a quick, fun conversation around it and understand why people are feeling what they are. But I get people to say check in.
Mm.
And the fact, and it's scientifically proven, I'm not saying any of this, but the moment we say check in, we are not just physically checking into the room, but you're
Yeah,
mentally telling your
check.
brain, I'm all here. And
Yeah,
just with that, I'm not going to think of anything else. Now, that being present, or it's the way you sense make, right? You read the room, you do all of that. And as facilitators and change agents, we are awesome at that, right? As leaders, we are. So that takes me to my story where at a CIO meeting, where we were all getting teams or the MDs of different departments getting to say their updates to a CIO. There was one MD who all of a sudden said, well, no, I don't want to be a part of this program. This is not us. We don't want to do this. And we were all like looking at that MD. Okay, where did we go wrong? I thought we were going to share our learnings in this program. We never knew you were resistant. Now, this is all going on inside everybody's head. And my boss is sitting next to me. She's an MD. She's sitting next to me and she's like looking at me. What the hell just happened? Like, with those eyes. And I'm like, hang on, there's hope, there's hope. Let's hear it also. Like, just with eyes, we're talking to each other. And then at the same time, the MD is going on and on and on and on. And I'm like, okay, so where are we stopping? So after that, there's like overwhelming silence in the room. And I was like, okay, nobody is breaking the silence, right? So, but then here's what I'm doing. I'm observing, 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 observing. And then I'm like, okay, great. Thank you for that amazing feedback. We perhaps missed that in the interviews with your team. We are totally cool with you not being part of the program, but of course, we'd love to learn more offline. Let's continue this meeting. And my boss, of course, is like, you can feel it, the pressure. I mean, she's got two parts of the pressure where, what the hell you just said? What the hell did you just say? And okay, I feel glad that you saved us, but that's not what I was expecting because we need that MD on board. But guess what? The meeting went on. And of course, that MD came on board later. But that's another story. But at that moment, if I wasn't present, sense making, what's everyone feeling, and didn't break that silence at the appropriate moment, saying the appropriate things, I don't know what would have been the answer because it was a very long 1 minute. It felt like forever.
Yeah, and that's the thing about silence. It can feel very, very long.
Yes. And it
Um,
goes back to what you said about being present, right? That's so key.
yeah. I think sometimes when we facilitate, we forget that we're always in that judgment zone as well in terms of judging what our next intervention is going to be. So we need to stay grounded. We need to be present. We need to resist rescuing because what we're doing is we're facilitating the conversation for them. And so, and there are different, there are different choices that you can make in that scenario. There are different choices you could have taken. You were there in the room, and because you were sensing the energy in the room as well, that was a choice you made because of what was happening in the room. And that's why, staying in the fire is so important because it's about making sense of it, not just with our brain, but with what's happening physically. What are we sensing in the room as well? And, so yeah, it's always about choice, based on what we're noticing ourselves about us and about what's happening in the room. And so long as we stay present to the fact that we're not there to fix the problem for the group, then yeah, just trust that whatever emerges, emerges. And that's the conversation that the team or the group needed to have. And even sometimes just acknowledging, that sounds like it could be a conversation that we haven't realized needed to happen. And then you don't need to say anything else because no doubt somebody will step in. So it's using silence and pauses and also not constantly being there to provide an answer and structure the conversation. And because I think that sometimes happens with facilitation, that the facilitator feels an expectation that they have to structure the process of the conversation. Just being in the room, you are changing the system just by being in the room. And so just standing in the fire is actually a powerful tool in your facilitator toolkit. And that just what you said, it just really resonated and just really triggered that kind of thinking, and based on obviously the experiences that I've had.
No, and it's awesome. It's always that, when we're saying things and then something else just sparks up. And there were 2 points that I thought I would want to talk about. I haven't even gone there yet, by the way. So it's always just, jumping on the points that you're bringing out right now for me. And this, again, I made a note. So resist rescuing. So that is so, so important because we feel obliged to jump in and rescue. It's really not about that. And I think we need people to step out. So sometimes, even if I look at the same scenario, right, what I could have done also is, okay, let's just look at what's happening. I could have just changed my statement to, let's look at what's just happened. So we've had MDX shared the learnings, MD2 shared the learnings, blah, 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 what they learned, what was positive, negative. And then MD3 actually shared that it's not great for them and the program's not working. So basically get people, to understand what just happened. Just saying this also, I think, shifts energy in the room. It's just
Yeah.
that energy that, we're just talking about. And for that, you've got to be in the fire, hold the fire, and then, help people navigate it because a lot of people just get stuck and feel so stuck that they're like, can you do something about it? This is your session. I'm like, okay, it's our session or it's your session and not mine because I'm here to move you in the right direction. But of course, we're going to help, right? So maybe just don't, like you said, resist the rescuing, but
Yeah.
move it forward in whatever way. So maybe even just describing what just happened
Yeah.
kind of shares, I'm noticing this, I'm noticing that, I'm noticing this. So let's step back and, take it forward together.
Yeah. Yeah. So what came up for me when you were talking about that was the importance, and we always talk about this, but the importance of contracting. So when you set up the session in terms of what is your role as a facilitator, to be very overt about what might happen in the session, and that yes, while you're there to help provide structure and process, what you're also there is to, and we'll talk about this at a future session, but is there to hold space. So it's to be willing to allow stuff to emerge as the conversation emerges, and also be willing to let go of the need for too much structure and process.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, as we know, it's the conversation is the important bit. And just to reiterate what I said at the outset of our conversation, that this is the conversation that the group needs to have. And so, and you can't plan for that. That will emerge because of the things that, we're in a system when we're facilitating a group, things are happening. There's no obvious cause and effect. Conversations are happening, and we have to allow ourselves enough leverage to go with the flow to enable the group to have that sort of learning and come to their own conclusions about what is actually important and what needed to be said versus what wonderful plan we had over here, as what happens with most of our LinkedIn lives.
So true. Um, Also reminds me then that, sometimes it's okay to say, I don't know. And goes back to what we've been talking through even the previous LinkedIn lives, right? Sometimes it's just okay to say, I don't know, because you don't know, but maybe add on something like this. And I have done that so many times, right? Remember the last LinkedIn live when you asked me that question, I was like, I don't know, but let's explore it together.
Yeah,
Why don't we
yeah,
just do that? So I think there's nothing to shy away from in that because you can't know it all. And that's a given. I can't know anything and everything about, I don't know, satellite communications, even if I'm like an electronics and telecom engineer. I can't know it all. Well, that's not my line of focus today, but also there are experts in the industry and they'll add more value. It's all about the network today and what value we together bring to the table, right? Not just about me. I'm probably a better enabler right now, can take this conversation forward only if you engage in it with your SME and, brain in there. So yeah, I'd love to say that again. If you're standing in the fire, it's okay to say, I don't know, but let's explore it together. And let's explore it together. No,
yeah,
but.
yeah. Yes.
What else? What else comes to your mind?
Um, what else comes to my mind? It's so thinking about this sort of I don't know, again, setting that up at the outset as well. So it's okay for you as a facilitator to say, I don't know. And it's also okay for people in the room to say, I don't know as well. Because I think often in meetings, in work kind of activities, everybody is expected to know their area of expertise. And bearing in mind that things are changing so rapidly and the complexity is even more profound, to assume that you, as even as the expert in your field, know everything there is to know is it's foolhardy, because you might know, you might know how satellites are, um, and the engineering behind satellites. Something might happen in the context that means that even though you know that, you know, you can't know the impact of something outside of your field of expertise that could have a sort of a bearing on what you're doing. So it's about keeping an open mind. So you kind of what we're doing when we're facilitating that standing in the fire is we're role modeling for the people in the room to be okay with emergent understanding, with allowing for even more important things to take priority. So just because we started with one plan and agenda, if through the course of our conversation something else is even more important, we'll actually acknowledge that and say, well, from our conversation, it's sounding like this is actually more important, and what we've got from today is X, Y, Z. So they're the kind of things that sort of come to mind.
Mm. So while you were saying that, I also thought about one of the pointers that I'd written from one of my engagements just 2 weeks ago, actually. Sometimes I think and this is something that one of the facilitators I was talking to actually shared with me, and then we had a chat about it. And what came out is, when we are facilitating a session, whether it's as a leader or facilitator, no matter what role you play in that, but you feel sometimes the pressure is on you. What you want to do is to move the pressure to the room, not to you, because I think it's very negative if it's on you. So you want to be good at, asking those kind of questions, and that comes only with sense making, is my personal experience, right? And maybe a simple question also, like, because you've been talking about everything, but there might be just a very simple question that I use is, what might be something we are not yet seeing? It's a very simple question, but it just changes the anchor of looking at things. And then everybody's like, oh, so what are we not seeing? I mean, we've been just talking, 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 and then so you already got the pressure off you, and now it's back into the room.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that eases it out and moves it in a direction which is forward, right? Doesn't get
yeah,
people stuck.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. Because if it feels as though you're doing all the work, then you already know that something's not working.
Yeah. And I'm no SME, because like I go and I facilitate in the context of different organizations. I'm not an SME in what the organization is doing, and I'm not expected to be an SME. I'm there to help them reach those results, right? You do that when you're coaching leaders
Yeah,
from different contexts of organizations. So neither of us will be SMEs in everything, right? But we're not expected to be that. We're good at moving that needle forward for them to achieve the results, right?
yeah. And that's what you want for them as well. Because you want them to take ownership. Ideally, that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I know we're short on time, but okay, maybe we start. I don't know. Did you have, so you want to share anything else that you'd planned to share today and you haven't?
So the sort of the three key points I think I've made. So just summarize them then. So the first thing is don't go in and try and fix things. So you're not there to fix things. You're there to help the group come up with their own quality of thinking, and you're there to hold the space. So resist that sort of desire to go in and fix things. The second thing was what we mentioned earlier about that presence, that focus more on presence than having a beautiful process and plan. Your presence is going to make more of an impact than any of those things ever could. And then the third thing is to understand that if the group is really struggling with something, that's perhaps the conversation that they need to have, and that's where the work needs to be done. Um, and so those three things are kind of my sort of mantra in terms of what happens when I notice that I'm feeling as I'm in the fire.
And I'm going to give you this amazing emoji. Look at that.
Woo!
It's like, okay, I like this. This is how I want to do this.
It's amazing. Brilliant. I love technology when it works.
This is so impromptu, right? It's good. Okay, but I love what you've summed it up with it's really awesome. So I don't want to add more to that, but what I'm going to do is leave our audience with a question, and I'm going to give that question right after I say this. For whoever is watching this after and hasn't yet watched. So, there are these Menti codes that you can see even in the video. Just scan them and we'd love to see your answer. Somebody else wrote talk fast. So yeah, that's one, but we'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to get in touch, of course, do. But here's the question. A senior leader hijacks whatever your session is. It could be a facilitation session that you're doing, and you're there in the center, but the senior leader hijacks your session in whatever way. You're free to make assumptions. What should you do? Should you challenge this leader? Because now you're in the fire. Or should you risk losing the psychological safety of the group in the room? Or anything else? What would you do? Ro and I are going to be very keen to hear from you. Tell us what you would do. And keep standing. And I'm looking for the icon again. Hang on. Ro, do you want to find the icon and do this together? Just for fun.
Okay, tell me when
Yes.
you're ready then. Oh, hang on.
Are you ready?
Hang on. Let me just find it. Where is it?
Found it. I just said fire and I found it.
Oh, okay. Yep, cool.
Ready?
Yes. Yep.
All right. So, people, stand in the fire. Here we go.
Yay.
Woo! Stand in the fire, but stay grounded under pressure. So, Ro and I will see you next month with another awesome topic. And keep telling us your topics, and we are happy to bring you back what our experience tells you. Thanks, Ro. I'll see you again next month.
Thanks, Erica. We will be Phoenix rising from the ashes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.